Bollocks! 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 Hello, pals out there. Yes, it's Toyah and Robert, your deeply unqualified agony aunts, ready to serve you a pile of useless answers to only a tiny few of your very many burning questions.
Well, my husband thinks they're useless, but I'm trying my hardest. They might be useless, but I'm actually trying. Don Demisi. Don Demisi?
That's one way of saying it, dear.
Robert, have you ever dressed a woman? And if you mention any other woman than me, your little fingers are going to get smacked.
I think the question, have you ever dressed as a woman, dear?
Oh, Robert, have you ever dressed as a woman?
The only time I recollect, sweetie, is when I donned a tutu and danced to Swan Lake at the edge of our garden on the riverside.
I thought you looked fabulous. You have really great legs. Every time my husband walks in front of me, because he always makes me walk behind. No, that's a joke. I say, oh, you've got lovely dinky legs. Jack South, I have read the meaning and I am a 21st century schizoid man. Is there anything I can do to ease the symptoms? Now, I have to ask you, what does it mean to be a 21st century schizoid man?
I have no idea what our friend the questioner is intending by this.
Okay, who wrote the lyrics?
Peter Simfield.
So what was his influence to go 21st century schizoid man? I mean, apart from the fact it's a fabulous phrase and it sounds amazing to sing.
Well, that's really a question for Peter, but my sense is that Peter thought pretty much people in charge were very, very off.
See, I would read this as I am a 21st century schizoid man, is that we're pulled in all directions. Our lives can be very contradictory because even though we all want a better ecology, we want better lives for everyone, we're still governed by countries that deal in weapons and warfare. So I think 21st century schizoid man is about, what do you do? How do you stay true to yourself? And if we take that into account, Jack South is asking, is there anything I can do to ease the symptoms?
I think your interpretation is excellent, dear, and my hunch is that Peter Simfield, whose instincts were very soundly based, a very good man, will probably agree with you. So easing the symptoms, I don't know, become a vegetarian, take a high colonic, that might hit the mark.
Jack, I would say remain true to yourself. We all have to live with situations that we don't always like, trust or believe in. But all we can do in that is be true to ourselves. Whatever makes us feel we are connecting with our higher being, we are doing correctly, and thank you. Taylor Phelps, if you could learn any other new instrument, what would you learn?
Well, what would you learn, loving?
Don't laugh, everyone. Concert level piano and also cello. I adore music and music is in me. It's very in me physically. This is why I move so much. And it's probably why I'm a singer and an actress rather than an actual musician. I've conquered so much in lockdown to do with my dyslexia and relationship with the alphabet. And what I mean by that, I believe if you're playing an instrument, you have to be able to run A, B, C, D, E, F, G in the right order. And I can now do that. That's how dyslexic I was. So I would love to be able to sit at a piano and entertain my audience. How about you, Robert?
Well, I would be a keyboard player so that I could I could hook up all manner of devices and synths and make a lot more noise than I can as a guitarist.
Of course. I mean, my husband, the creator of looping, what could you do with a keyboard? That would be incredible.
It would be really breathtaking, dear.
I love this next question. DJC653. So who are some of the musical artists you two are into these days? Can I go first?
Please.
We were contacted this week by a father of a musician. And Robert and I went onto YouTube and we looked at this musician, and I was in tears. I was blown away. And I want you all to look her up. Chantel McGregor. Many young musicians before lockdown were on a great trajectory, and then because of lockdown, they have got to start again. And we sent a message to Chantel where I just said she has inspired me to keep playing guitar and to keep honing my songwriting, because she is a genius. So I'd say very into Chantel McGregor, and Aurora and Wardruna, who are from Norway. I adore them. I adore their beautiful, pure, innocent relationship with music. And this week, I turned on Cherry Red, my record label, to Dark Wave, because my second ever album that was released in 1980, The Blue Meaning, is going to be re-released in May. And there's this new connection to what was called Dark Wave in the late 70s, slightly gothic electronic music. And this is what Blue Meaning is. And I said to my record company, look at Drab Majesty and Gullo, because I believe I'm one of the influencers and their audience are going to love Blue Meaning. How about you, Robert?
Well, I prefer music live, so since we're not in the time where we can see live music very well...
We're pretty close.
Well, fingers crossed, I've been going online increasingly. I would recommend Tiny Orchestral Moments, a project originated by Steve Ball in Seattle. There are very, very many musicians from around the world who take part, only one of whom is a stunning singer called Petra Hayden, who multi-tracks her voice. I have no idea how she manages. She has done some of my very, very favouriteest covers of King Crimson, singing all the parts, breathtaking. Petarisk Vasks, a Latvian composer. I apologise if I've mispronounced his name, but if you come from Dorset, you scramble just about any word that falls from your lips. I would also recommend one of my very, very favouriteest blues guitarists that I go to online for lessons, Ms. Kathy Moore, also in Seattle. Her trio is stunning.
Fabulous. Alison Crocker, do you believe either of you have had a past life?
Go.
Okay. There's two stories here and I want to condense them down to you, Alison. My mother, when I was in her belly, had so much fear in her life that when I was born, I inherited her visual fears. And her fears were always about murder, and this is because something she experienced when she was in her teens. So, have I had a past life? No, but I had nightmares, and when I told my mother what they were, my mother freaked because I told her what she experienced as a teenager. Now, this confuses what I believe is either inherited DNA experiences from my mother or past life experiences. So to completely separate this, we have an apartment on the Italian border in Menton in France, and we walk over to Hambry Gardens in Italy. And I believe that I lived there in the 1940s with an 11-year-old child. And I believe that Bill Rieflin was my child in soul, and we were shot. And I got this memory the moment we walked into Hambry Gardens. I said to Robert, oh my God, I lived here, I've been here, and I had a child. And that child, I think it was Bill. So we have no proof of this. We don't know, and I don't know if it's one of these dream connections, but I do believe we reincarnate. So thank you. What do you think, Robert?
Well, I was told by a person whose sense of things I trust that I was a monk librarian in an earlier life. Well, this would speak to my bibliophiliacal inclinations and also my inwardness.
Okay, I could believe that. Your characteristics still suit that today. Susan Brown, why do you both not wear your wedding rings? Why do you not wear your wedding ring,
Because
husband?
my wife doesn't love me enough.
I do, I love you tons.
All right, then let me say, why do I not? Essentially because I found that wearing anything on my hands while playing guitar impeded their action. So what I do, I keep my wedding ring on this unicorn horn by the side of the bed in this little tray with 2 dowsing pendula my wife gave me for Christmas.
So I bought this wedding ring for Robert. We bought the bands together just off the high street in Dorchester. And I bought the wedding rings. Mine, I took to Margaret Turner a couple of years later, and she's a jeweller. She now lives in Spain. And she melted the band down and created this moonstone ring, which became the wedding ring that I always wanted. I only ever wear it when I travel alone, and that's a lot. So if I'm going to a gig or if I'm flying to another country, I do travel alone most of the time. So I always wear my wedding ring because I actually feel it's a protection, and you won't see me wearing it at home because I'm always doing gardening and washing up and painting, so I don't want to ruin it. So that is why, but well observed.
May I say something else too? Another point is that I feel that my marriage is an ongoing presence in my life. So from one point of view, a visible symbol of it is not strictly necessary. However, I'll contradict that by saying most days I wear something given to me by my wife, which is a tie or socks.
Okay. Chris Belcher, you ask, do we have any hedgehogs? Chris, this is going to make you angry, and it made me angry. You know, hedgehogs, they're quite secretive little creatures, but they always go under piles of old twigs, old leaves. Well, someone brought in a chipper machine, a wood chipper machine, and I'm afraid a hedgehog went through it, and I hit the bloody roof. Because I always say to everyone, do not light a fire, do not put anything through a wood chipper until you've gone through and checked there's no nests, there's no hibernating animals, and there's no hedgehogs. This will not happen again. And we do have hedgehogs. We also have to watch about putting slug pellets down. You cannot use slug pellets where there's hedgehogs. So we are getting very, very hedgehog friendly, and mainly because people are scared of me. But we love them. We absolutely love them.
Do you think hedgehogs are frightened of you too, dear?
Hedgehogs are frightened of everything, but you really have to be aware of their needs. And modern machinery is not hedgehog friendly. I mean, even a lawnmower can catch a hedgehog. So if you want to protect them, you want them in your garden, get rid of the slug pellets, use anything natural but not a poison, and also the weed killer. Just dig them up by hand, and whenever you're mowing or strimming, please be aware that there might be a hedgehog in the undergrowth. Please, could you say that name for me? Because I don't want to get it wrong.
Devashakti Pruden.
Thank you. Devashakti, this is a glorious question, and it's going to be a long answer. What is the most annoying thing you've been asked or could be asked about your lives and careers? Shall I go first?
Yes, dear.
I've got a list. I have actually come off stage, I think at Henley Rewind, 30,000 people, and someone saying, "Oh, hello, Toyah, do you still sing?" After the audience is still screaming my name and cheering for me. I was actually asked this 2 years ago. Did Robert write your latest album for you? That person's still breathing, just. And also, I get asked this is crazy. What does Robert do these days? But by far, the one that I think shook me to the bones, and I told you about this, I was at a party with Paul McCartney and Stella McCartney and Brian Eno, and Robert was away, and I was there on my own. And Paul McCartney took my hand and he said, this was 2001, he said, are you still married to Robert? Because I never see you together. And I said to Robert, if we're never seen together, I don't exist. So please, can we start to be seen together? And I said to Paul McCartney, yeah, but my husband's a bit reclusive. He now never asks that. He always asks how you are, and he's a huge fan of you. So what do you get asked?
I will give a specific example. When my wife was working in a wonderful community arts centre and theatre in Pershore, Worcestershire, and I visited, and I was standing by Toyah on her merchandise table in support mode, and this man came out to me. This was, I believe, 2017, 18, 4 months on the road with King Crimson that year. And he came up to me and he said, do you still do anything nowadays?
Very Pershore, it's so sweet. There's a Holland and Barrett in Pershore, and the lovely, lovely lady behind the desk said, when did your husband leave Motley Crue? And I kept a straight face and I said, well, it was a while ago. He got tired of all the sex. I love that question. I love it. Martin Burke, can you please tell us what really happened to Michael Rockefeller?
I wouldn't even hesitate. I wouldn't even make a guess on this. However, a mystery that interests me a lot more is whether, in fact, Admiral Byrd, in his 1,700-mile flight around the South Pole, actually went into a hollow Earth. Now, that's a mystery I'm more interested in.
It's fascinating because people genuinely believe in this hollow Earth theory, that there is this massive hole in Antarctica where flying saucers and even our aircraft can go into a completely different world that has its own sun and it has its own ecosystem. So it's like a wormhole, and perhaps Michael Rockefeller went through that wormhole.
You know, that never occurred to me.
Matt Attack Brooks, any thoughts on Joe Strummer? I only met him once and I thought he came across as a really lovely, level-headed gentleman. And in the mid-70s, during the punk movement, I know that the Clash rehearsed in Camden Town near the Roundhouse, and they allowed fans in to watch them rehearse. And I always was impressed with that generosity.
I like Joe a lot. I saw the Clash in 1979 in New York City at a venue I know as the Academy of Music. I think it became the Palladium on 14th Street. And the Clash were stunning. One of the best rock shows I have ever seen. I did an interview with Joe. The interviewer was the editor of Musician, Player and Listener magazine, Vic Garbrini, and I did an interview with Joe that appeared in the March 1981 issue. Joe, I liked a lot. He struck me as a man of integrity and very, very normal and down to earth, which for me is always a sign of a person of substance.
I love that you're both posing on that cover and you're doing the kind of, I think, the Bowie-esque Heroes period kind pose, and Joe's hands are just ever so slightly limp, as if, have I really got to do this? I think it's a very good cover. It's great. Brian Gallagher asks, what acoustic guitar is good for a beginner?
The best you can afford. For example, Ovation Celebrity, a Breedlove beginner guitar,
Takamine?
perhaps a Takamine. The problems of this: any more modestly priced guitar will have problems with tone and intonation, but even more problematic than that is if the action is very high, such as on my very first guitar, and it can hinder the development of a good calisthenic. So the very best instrument you can afford, and if the instrument works out for you and you have a sense that this may be your life, then work hard and save up.
I have my guitar kind of reset on the lowest intonation possible so that you can just breeze over the fingers. It makes guitar playing so much more enjoyable. So that's worth looking into, but you need a really good guitar person to do that for you. So, Robert, what's the magic chord today?
The magic chord today, I figured something around a G minor with a trill. How about?
We wish you love, luck, health and happiness. May our futures get back to normal ASAP. Lots of love from Toyah.
And from Robert.